Choosing Home by ginnyrules27, Chapter 9. Jane paced the stone patio by the enchanted lake. Ben had just called to cancel and let her know that Audrey had Maleficent's scepter. Jane didn't need to be told what that implied. That it might be a good idea to cancel her party. "What is it?" Carlos had asked upon seeing the look on her face. "We need to get everyone out of here," Jane told him. "That was Ben on the phone." "Everything okay?" Jane shook her head. "Carlos..." "I'll get them out of here," Carlos promised, giving Jane a gentle kiss on the cheek before running off, pulling Gil away from Macaria as he did so. That had been about 10 minutes ago, and people were still milling around the enchanted lake. Oh sure, they'd managed to get Macaria and her brothers to leave, but that was about it. And granted, that might have been only because of the fact that Carlos had told her that Mal had told him that Hattie was being kept safe on Olympus. Knowing Mal, the only reason she would have sent Hattie to Olympus would be if there was a threat Mal couldn't handle on her own. "What is he doing here?" Jane heard one of her guests whisper, and her eyes flickered to the entrance where two familiar figures were making their way toward her. Jane's blood ran cold. Audrey and Freddie were there, at her party, and she hadn't cleared out nearly enough guests to feel comfortable in case anyone tried anything. Great. "Did anyone save me any guacamole?" Audrey asked, stopping one of the male party attendants as Freddie smirked, looking around at the female guests. "No? It's like someone forgot to invite me." "Audrey, you had an invitation." Carlos spoke up, and Jane made her way toward him, the black and white-haired boy making sure to keep himself between Freddie, Audrey, and Jane. "And where's Mal? I thought she was going to be here." "I'm not exactly going to let Audrey know that Mal and the others went to the aisle, after all," Carlos thought, as Audrey took a blue frosted cupcake from another attendant and threw it over her shoulder. "Oh, I don't think Mal will be joining us," Freddie said with a smirk. "Yeah, she's not exactly feeling herself," Audrey added and cackled as the remaining partygoers stood in shock, mouths open as if horrified at what they heard. Audrey smirked as she made her way over to another party guest. "Doesn't that make you feel sad?" Audrey asked, making her voice small and high-pitched, almost as if she was talking to a baby. "Doesn't it just ruin everything?" Freddie shook his head. "Honestly, you Borodon lot are just mindless drones, ready to follow a witch to ruin." "After all, how could you forget that I was supposed to be your queen?" Audrey exclaimed. "Mal's supposed to be our queen." Alexandria shot back. "If you were supposed to be queen, Audrey, Ben would have stayed in the contract. Not to mention the fact that you're still in line for your own throne, as you constantly like to remind all of us." Freddie looked over at Alexandria and smirked. "Well, well, it certainly is amazing how lovely they make the women in Borodon. Almost makes up for the whole imprisoning us in an aisle thing. Make it quick, Fred," Audrey said, sounding almost bored with the whole thing as she examined her nails. "I'd rather not have this take all day." "Of course, Your Highness," Freddie nodded and stalked over to Alexandria, pinning her to a nearby tree. "Hey!" Carlos exclaimed and started to make his way over toward Freddie, but it was another blonde that beat him to the punch. Literally. "Stay away from my sister!" Chad explained, running up and punching Freddie in the face so that he fell away from Alexandria. Just as Ben had before him, the punch caused Chad to bruise his knuckles, but it did get some distance between Alexandria and Freddie. Chad looked at his baby sister, who was still backed up against the tree in fright. "You okay, Alex?" "I'm good." Alexandria nodded, giving Chad a surprised but grateful smile. "Okay, good. Get your sisters and get out of here," Chad said before turning to Audrey. "Audrey, this is insane. What are you doing with him? I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the new look, especially the feathers, but seriously, you heard the cotillion broadcast just as I did." He may be the worst brother Harry had ever seen, But that didn't mean he didn't remember the days his parents brought his sisters home from the hospital. Granted, the day they brought Alexandria home was a bit clearer compared to the twins, since he was 4 instead of 2, but he could still remember his dad sitting him down on the sofa, his mum handing him that tiny bundle. Both of his parents telling him that he'd need to protect his sisters from harm, that they'd be able to take care of themselves one day, but until that day came, they'd need their big brother watching their backs. And that was what Chad was going to do. Did Chad just punch Freddy? Carlos muttered to Jane. He did. Jane nodded. Okay, wanted to make sure I wasn't dreaming. Carlos, in all honesty, would you ever have Chad and me in the same dream? That is an excellent point, Carlos said with a small chuckle. Freddy rubbed his jaw and glared at Chad, unaware of the background conversation that was being had. What is with Borodon boys punching me today? I thought you were all supposed to play nice with the VKs. Or is there another reason why DeVille the coward and Gil the imbecile are here? We play nice with those who don't knock out our king! Kitty exclaimed, making her way from Roland to stand next to Chad. Kitty, get out of here! Chad ordered. If you think I'm leaving you, you're mad, Kitty told him. Sure, Chad was an annoyance of an older brother, but he was her annoyance of an older brother. She didn't want him in harm's way any more than he wanted her. Jane bit her lip in fright. Why in the world didn't more people listen? Or run when they saw that Audrey had Maleficent's scepter, and Freddy Frollo was at her side? Carlos, run to the parking lot, Jane muttered to her boyfriend. What? It's got better cell service. The only other place is by the edge of the lake, but both Audrey and Freddy will see you. Call Mal or Ben. I can see about keeping Audrey distracted until help can arrive. I'm not leaving you, Jane. Carlos shook his head. It's my party. I'm not leaving my guests in harm's way. Plus, I've got magic, Jane told him. But... Jane kissed his cheek. Go! And see if you can take Alex with you. Something tells me Chad's not going to relax until his youngest sister is out of harm's way. I don't like this, Carlos muttered, but nodded. Jane watched as Carlos slowly crept out of sight, ducking behind trees to avoid Audrey or Freddy spotting him. Hey, he whispered to Alex, having ducked behind the tree she was against. Come on, come with me. Something tells me this is going to get ugly, and you're not going to want to see it. But, Alex said, glancing at Chad, if it's going to get ugly, there's a chance Chad might get hurt, right? Your brother will be fine, Carlos said, trying to keep his voice soft, to both be a comfort to Alexandria, and a way to avoid being spotted by either Audrey or Freddy. In fact, I'm sure he'll be right behind us when he realizes you're out of harm's way. Come on. Carlos held out his hand, and Alexandria bit her lip, glancing over at Chad before nodding. Jane sighed in relief as she watched Carlos sneak away with Alex. At least that was one potential problem out of the way. Chad? Audrey said, pulling Jane's attention back to what was going on. Is it just me? Or is there a bit of a purr to Audrey's voice? Jane thought as Audrey walked over to Chad, closing the distance between them. We had some fun times, didn't we? Audrey said, running her hand over Chad's chest. I guess we did. Remember that one time when we had first gotten together? Audrey said, not noticing Freddy narrow his eyes slightly. You and I had to share that glass of fruit punch because the servant forgot to do a load of dishes and there weren't any clear ones. Chad stilled as the foggy feeling returned yet again. He told himself that Audrey probably didn't realize what she was doing, that it was probably a coincidence that she was using the word glass, even though that seemed to trigger the foggy feeling. Hang on. It's almost like a mist, almost, Chad thought, as he realized he wasn't reverting to how he usually acted whenever that feeling overtook his body. It was almost as if he was still himself, only with just a slight haze over his vision. Audrey? Yes, Chad? Audrey purred. Freddie rolled his eyes. Oh, honestly. Do what you're gonna do, Your Highness, and let's get on with it. Very well, Audrey said, shooting Freddie a glare before turning back to Chad. Get behind me. I don't think that... Oh, that's cute. You think I care what you think? Audrey cackled. Chad, honestly, we both know that if you ever got an idea, it would die of loneliness. Now get behind me and maybe your sisters will be spared from what I have planned. Chad looked over at Kitty and Lucy, the latter having walked up to stand next to her sister. The three of them seemed to stare at each other for what felt like hours, but was more than likely 5 minutes. Run, he whispered before taking a hesitant step toward Audrey. He didn't look to see if his sisters had followed his request. He could hear the trampling of the underbrush under their feet as they ran up the path. But Audrey would leave them alone, right? She had promised. You move so slowly it's like you're going to your execution, Freddie scoffed and grabbed Chad's arm, throwing the royal over his shoulder. While he wasn't exactly thrilled about Audrey flirting with Chad, at least they get a fun toy to torment while planning their next move. Plus, Mal's gotten so soft she'd likely come to us to save the pampered prince. Freddie thought with a smirk. Aradon likes to forget so much. They'll love this, Audrey said as Chad fought to break free of Freddie's grip. The heir to the Aurora throne began to sing, Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Jane. With every pause, Audrey stamped the scepter down on the ground, releasing a fog of pink smoke among the party-going populace. Audrey, Chad, and Freddie watched as the AKs began to fall asleep one by one. Though, unlike Chad, who had a look of horror on his face, Audrey had an amused smirk, and Freddie looked almost impressed. I have to say, I know I thought the hag transformation was tame, but this was something I didn't think the princess, I'm sorry, the queen was capable of. Freddie thought, I mean, sure she's a witch, but maybe we can fix that before she rules. Sweet dreams, Audrey said as the fog of pink smoke began to make its way over the enchanted lake. Chad darted his eyes back and forth, as if trying to look for Jane, but couldn't see her. Audrey? Chad whispered, but Audrey ignored him and enveloped the three of them in another cloud of pink smoke. As they disappeared, the cloud that had been the sleeping curse faded, which proved to be excellent timing, as, not 5 seconds later, Jane emerged from the enchanted lake, coming up for air. Quickly grabbing a towel from the patio along with her cell phone, she called the first number she could think of. Hey, Jane, what's up? Jane heard Ben say. Ben! Oh, thank God you're okay. Listen, something terrible just happened, and I wanted to let you know before you got the report. I tried to get everyone to leave, but they just wouldn't listen, Ben. Hang on, hold on. Are you okay? You're talking too fast, Jane. Ben, Audrey was here. Audrey was where? You know where. At my party. Remember? The party you told me to cancel? Which I tried to do, but no one was listening to me. So I tried to get Carlos and Gil to clear everyone out. Ben, Audrey just caused a sleeping curse over the party. I ducked into the enchanted lake, but most of her classmates are out for the count. Audrey did what? Jane sighed. That's not all, Ben. She's with Freddie. You know, from Cotillion? He's got Chad. Who's still conscious? Chad's sisters, I think. Carlos and Gil. Oh, and Macaria, Hillis, and Herky. But that's probably because they left before Audrey and Freddie showed up. What about Amir and Akio? I thought they were coming to your party. They texted, said they were going to be late. Jane told him and could hear Ben sigh in relief. Ben, where's Mal? Audrey said something about her not feeling herself. Mal's fine. She's with me. Ben told her. Listen, send the people who are still conscious over to Evie's and then get yourself to safety. I will. Jane promised. I'm going to reach out to my mum too, so she grabs the wand. If Audrey stole from the museum once, she might do it again, and I'd rather my mum's wand be in my mum's hands. There was a silence on the other end, which Jane could only assume meant Ben had nodded, but forgot that Jane couldn't see him. Try spraying whoever you can with enchanted lake water, now I think about it. That actually wasn't a bad idea. It'd mean more help on their side, should they need it, and a lot of these kids were heirs to their respective thrones. They deserve better than to be asleep on the forest floor. I'll get right on that, Jane promised. Okay. Talk to you soon, Jane. Talk soon, Ben. Jane nodded, disconnecting the call. Jane! Jane's head sprint up, and she looked to see Carlos running towards her. Dude, as always, on his heels. Oh God, are you okay? Carlos said. I could hear Audrey singing from the parking lot. Her voice must have been amplified somehow. I'm fine, Jane told him and smiled a little as Carlos pulled her into his arms. Carlos, we need to get started. Can you fill one of the squirt gun swords from the water in the lake? I'm going to call my mum so she can get our wand. Okay, Carlos nodded. More than a little confused, but knew he could always ask Mal or Uma later to get more information. He gently kissed her cheek once more before breaking from his hug. It was going to happen. It needed to happen fast. Jane nodded, wishing they could have stayed there all day. She loved being wrapped in Carlos's arms like that. But she knew it was better if they got started. The sooner they did, the sooner they'd be able to help Mal, Ben, Uma, and the others. Pulling out her phone once more, Jane dialed her mum's number, while Carlos filled up one of the squirt gun swords with water from the lake. Hey, Mum, Jane said upon getting her mum's voicemail. It's Jane. Don't panic, but I need you to go and get your wand from the museum. It's an emergency. Don't call me back if you have questions. Mal and Ben are going to have more answers for you than I do. I love you so much. Stay safe and hopefully I'll see you soon. Ending the call, she sighed and put her phone back in her pocket. Please be okay, Mum, she thought, but smiled as she saw Gil run up. Carlos handed him his squirt gun sword and went to go and fill up another one. Shaking her head, Jane quickly moved to help, gathering up towels to hand to the people who woke up while Dude was happily trotting around, licking everyone's faces that he could. Hopefully they'd be able to wake up everyone before Audrey did anything more. Hopefully they didn't just waste their efforts. Jane! Alexandria exclaimed, rushing towards her. What happened? Carlos got me to the parking lot, but I came back when I didn't see Kitty or Lucy. Or Chad. Where are they? Hey, Jane said, wrapping her arms around the younger girl. Your sisters are okay. Chad told them to get out of there. And Chad? Oh God, how do I say this without worrying her? Jane thought as she lightly bit her lip before sighing. Chad distracted them so your sisters could run, she said, keeping her voice gentle. Mal and Ben are going to get him back, though. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. It's going to be okay, she thought as she rubbed Alexandria's back comfortingly. Gods, please tell me it's going to be okay. End of chapter. Hi guys, hope you enjoyed that because, we're getting into some of the nasty stuff now. But also, can we just say, finally a Jane and Carlos chapter. Yay, I'm so happy. Was that 2, 3, or 4 kisses on the cheek? Because I lost count, but I am so happy that it's confirmed that they're together and it's not just a date ticketillion thing and it happens like it does in the movie. Oh, I'm so happy. And they're like hugging each other and she wishes she could stay like that. Oh, God. And I love that Carlos had to drag Gil away from Macaria. And can I just say, Chad punching Freddy. Yes. Go Prince Charming Jr. That was nice. But I like that his going with Audrey was basically a sacrifice. I know it kind of was in the movie, but it was a little bit on the edge. Like, I wasn't quite sure if it was just his infatuation with her or not. So, I'd also... Oh, boy. So, let's just say Chad with Freddie and Audrey. Oh, Ginny, this is what you warned me about on your very first comment. So, I don't know if it's next chapter or the one after that or whatever. But it's quite soon now, and I'm not looking forward to that chapter. To be honest, most of it's probably going to be skipped. But I'll do what I can. You gave me your permission back then, and I'll do what I can. Anyway, yep, you guys know the drill. Like, comment, and subscribe, and hit that bell to get notified whenever I upload a new video. Have a good day, night, or whatever time zone you're in. Bye, my guys, girls, and albino pals. I'll see you in another video. Take care.